Today I'm going to show you guys how to go from an amber corner light on your AP1 S2000 to a clear corner light. In my opinion, the clear corner light looks way better, and this is my buddy's S2000. He just dropped it off to swap in these lenses from amber to clear. In my opinion, it makes the car look way cleaner, so that's what we're going to be doing today. All right, so this first step of doing the clear lens swap is we got to remove this front bumper. So let's go ahead and do that. So to remove this front bumper, we're going to start off by removing these front bumper Phillips head screws. All right, so now on the side over here we have, looks like an 8mm. And then we have another 8mm right here on this side. All right, moving on to the underneath of the car, we should have a few bolts, but this car does not have any of these bolts except this one and a few zip ties. So go ahead and chop these off and remove this one bolt. All right, so there are usually a few bolts under here that are attached to the fender liner, but you can see that we don't actually have fender liner on this car, and the only bolt is this one. So I didn't have to need to take off the wheel or anything. We just removed this bolt. I'm not gonna lie, this bumper was barely held on by anything. There was like 3 bolts holding it on. I found a napkin in here. Weight reduction, you're welcome. To remove these headlights, we have one bolt right here. They're all 10 mil. There we go. These headlights are always a little weird to take off. Oh my God, it is so grimy in here. And just like that, the headlights are out. It's pretty easy. Just a couple bolts, you'll find them. No big deal. Pickle, I think I have some leftover clear coat laying around, so I think I'm gonna surprise him by clearing these up a bit, because we don't wanna put fresh new clear lenses just to not be able to see him. Look at that. So we'll throw that in. So now what we're gonna do is use our heat gun. We're gonna heat it up all around for a few minutes, and then we're gonna pull back all of these tabs and then pry the headlight open and swap out that lens. So let me show you guys how to do that. All right, now what we're gonna do is use a heat gun, and we're just going to heat around the headlight for a few minutes. We're gonna get it pretty hot. Alternatively, you can put this in your oven and bake it. I did that on my other car, but honestly, it's kind of a headache. So I'm just gonna try and heat this with a heat gun and see how far we can get with that. All right, so we heated it up for a couple minutes. It probably still needs a little bit more heat, but now what we're gonna do is pull back all of these plastic tabs while the plastic is hot. So be very careful not to break these tabs, because it's pretty easy to break them. Ask me how I know. So pretty much just pull that out, and then you can start prying it. Start prying in the middle with some sort of pry tool. So this is obviously the hardest part of the entire job, is just getting this headlight separated. It takes a lot of just manhandling and wiggling. All right, so the headlight is separated. That actually only took like 10 minutes. I figured out a pretty cool method on separating that. Basically, this part right here with the pointy corner, all I did was after heating up the entire area, I pretty much used this as leverage and I split it right open. So pretty easy method. So now what we're gonna do is go ahead and swap over that amber lens. All right, check it out. It's back in. You can flip it around. She's a little dirty on the outside, but there we go. Clear lens. And that took like 20 minutes, really not too bad. To put it back together, it's the same idea. We want to get all of this really hot with the heat gun. I'm gonna get all of this really hot with the heat gun and then just slap it back on. You can see that you can line up the tabs with the little nubs. So if those are not lined up, then that means you gotta either shift it or move it around. Headlight is fully closed up. Make sure to bend all of the tabs into position. Basically just wanna make sure that all the tabs are closed in. This side still has a little bit of a gap that I'm not okay with, so I'm gonna go ahead and heat that up a little bit more and then use a clamp to secure it down. But for the most part, that is pretty closed, if I do say so myself. But from what I was told, you can actually just reuse the old sealant. You don't need to add new sealant, but if you find it that it's leaking, then you can always put new sealant in there. And so if this starts leaking, then I'll just find out where it's leaking from and add some new sealant. So not really too big of a deal, but that's pretty much how you do it. So I'm gonna go ahead and start on the second one, and that one should honestly be much faster because I just finished one of these, so now I kind of know the method. So I'm gonna go ahead and knock out the second one, and then we're gonna give these a nice polish, throw them back on the car. All right, second headlight done. And just like that, the headlights are finished. So both headlights are finished. And honestly, it really wasn't that hard. It took me like 30 minutes per headlight. Probably even less than that. That's honestly being generous, but yeah, pretty simple. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and polish these headlights because like I said earlier, these things are in pretty bad shape. And we can't put these back on the car while they're looking all crusty and muddy. I'm gonna go ahead and pull out the polishing box and we're gonna see what I got in there to make these look a little bit better. So the method that I'm going to be using to restore these headlights is not the ideal way to do things, but I'm only going to be doing it this way because it's all I've got. So we're going to go ahead and start off with So I'm gonna go ahead and start off with a 1500 grit. Now 1500 is a bit lighter than I'd like to use. I'd like to go at least maybe 800. I'd like to start off with maybe like 800, 1000. 15 is a bit too fine, I think, for these headlights and how scuffed they are. However, it is all I have, so I'm gonna go ahead and start off with 1500, move over to 25, and then probably finish off with a 3000. So I'm gonna go ahead and wet the headlight. I did clean it earlier off cam. After, we're gonna sand this down a little bit. I'm gonna use this Meguiar's Ultimate Compound because, again, like I said, the stuff is all I have. And I'm sure whatever result that I get with this is gonna look way better than it does now. Right? That's the theory. And if I mess up real bad, then I'll just have to go to the store and get some clear coat and do it properly. But you're just gonna start off with doing a light wet sand until it's smooth. And like I said, 1500, it may be not aggressive enough for this headlight. So I'm gonna scrape this out with a 15, and if it's still coarse, then I'm gonna move on to a 600 because that is the next best thing that I have. So all right, headlight is pretty smooth to the touch. It is pretty foggy. So now what we're going to do, pad, it's a bit dirty, but we got a yellow pad here. And we have our Bauer orbital sander. Again, a little dirty. It's all good, it's all good. So now what we're gonna do, get our Ultimate Compound, squirt a little bit on there, probably a little bit too much actually. Spread it on the headlight just like that. Spread it around. We'll do like a medium speed. What do you think? Not great. I've done better. But you know what? Quick and easy. Let me get the other one so we can do a before shot. The before. See, it's pretty faded. And then here, is the after. Definitely see that we cleared it up a little bit, but not by a drastic amount. But I think for a quick little 5-minute job, it's fine. Light number 2, completely polished up. So used pretty much the same method and just a little bit of compound, a little bit of wet sanding. This is what we are left with. Now, if you look really closely, you can see all these little divots. Now, these divots are because I don't have enough of aggressive sandpaper to actually get rid of those. So what I'm doing is when I sand, it's only skimming it's not getting deep enough to get in those divots and make it really nice and smooth. But you could tell just from that quick wet sand polish that took me 5 minutes, it's way better than how it looked. So with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and throw these headlights back on the car.